Blah 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 blah. Hello everybody and welcome to I'll Tell You What TV, where James is just getting his headphones. So he will be with us in a moment. Okay, yeah, so we're I'll Tell You What TV, the unofficial Formula 1 podcast, where we're going to be talking today about the Australian Grand Prix from 2019, which took place this weekend. You got me, Dave, Steve's here as well, and James. Hello. And James is with us somewhere. We're going to find out in a moment if he had forgotten that he'd got a podcast to do, and also whether he's actually watched the race yet.
Yeah, I watched the race. I forgot about the podcast.
Okay, yeah. So it's lucky then that you saw the messages. Excuse me. I do want to kick off tonight's show though with just a quick message really of rest in peace Charlie Whiting with his unfortunate passing. Obviously we're a bit delayed in getting that message out there, but it is a sad thing that he has passed away, and hopefully Formula 1 is not going to change for the worse with him not being there.
True, and it's the only passing I saw in F1 this week.
Oh, you obviously weren't watching the same race, were you?
It's just my way of dealing with death, unfortunately. It's to look on the funny side.
Fair enough. Any comments, James, or you'd still get yourself ready? He's still getting himself ready, isn't he? Yep. Either that or he's so devastated he can't bring himself to talk.
He's probably put his headset on and not realised yet that it was stuck on mute.
And now he's gone to see if Vicky wants a cup of tea. I don't know, trying to be sincere about somebody dying and James not even here. I don't know. Shocking. Disgraceful. So James, you got anything to say on that matter?
On what?
The saddest news of the weekend. He's no idea what.
Ferrari?
No. Charlie
Ferrari
Charlie
told us a pack
Whiting.
of lies.
Charlie Whiting.
Oh, yeah. But, to be fair, I know it sounds awful, but the best way to go is like that, rather than like getting, for example, cancer and you pretty much living out your death sentence and everybody knows it. That's the really, really depressing stuff. Whereas if you, I know it's awful still, you can't bring somebody back, but if you could have a way to go, I think that's the best way to go.
It's definitely one of them, that's for sure. But yeah,
I could think of a few more better ways that I'd want to go.
Yeah, but you're a pervert, Steve. So, to be fair, Charlie may have preferred to have gone that way as well.
Just not yet.
Yeah. It is a shame. Unfortunately, it is the only guarantee in life.
It were down under. It might have been with Lance.
Who?
It might have been what?
It might have been with Oliver Lance.
What, she roll over on him? I'll take back my comment of Oliver Lance on the commentary. I've seen a recent picture of her.
I know, it's devastating, isn't it?
It is, yeah. Yeah, that one's out the wank bank. Anyway, right. I'm going to fire us off, guys, talking about the Australian Grand Prix. And I'm going to sort of give out, I want a quick answer. Sort of like a, not a yes/no answer, because it's incapable of James to give one of those unless he's being asked by Vicky, "Do you want a shag?" and his answer is like yes. So
what's the that was a bit before the shag.
That's him taking
that's
his
my
clothes.
brain kicking in here.
No, that's him taking his clothes off. No, the question is this: as Australian Grand Prix go, would you say it was a good one or a bad one?
Yeah, we're all right. To say it were completely dry and there were no. Sorry, I'm getting distracted here.
Vicky's coming. Vicky's
No.
coming.
But if you know what I mean, as far as dry Australian Grand Prix go, that were all right. Now,
do you know what? I sat there thinking, this is just as fucking same.
yeah,
I didn't.
But I felt the cars were able to keep a little bit closer than they have in previous years.
Mm-hmm. You say that, but do you know, there was two things that made me think this is just the fucking same. All right, and one of it is Australia, and one of it is Formula One in general. Well, actually, I'm not going to blame Formula One in general. I'm going to blame Ferrari, but maybe we'll come on to that in a bit. But if the situation of following someone had been totally, completely resolved, why the fuck could Gasly not get past Kvyat?
Because he's not good enough.
He's on 2 steps better tyres, brand new, that have just come out the pit lane, and in supposedly the A-spec car, the better team car.
I think I can answer that question for you, right? And it features to why I thought it, as far as Australian Grand Prix go, I actually didn't think it was a bad one, right? I expected it to be an absolute bore fest, and I did stay awake for all of the practice sessions qualifying.
Did you, James?
James fell asleep. I stayed awake for the race, and just before the race started, I was thinking, I hope I haven't wasted my time staying up. And to be fair, halfway through, I was like, in all honesty, before the race started, and I watched the whole hour and a half preview, like pre-race and all that, I was getting a little bit of the tingly balls excitement coming. I was like, okay, the F1's kicking off. The build-up over the weekend had led me to get a bit excited about it, so I was looking forward to it. And I was constantly thinking, hopefully this isn't going to be another Australian bore fest, because it's not the easiest of places to overtake. And to be fair, I don't think I was disappointed. And the reason for that was, you had drivers like Giovinazzi defending with all of his life. You had Kvyat defending for all of his life against a Red Bull. We don't see...
It's Australia.
No, but listen. We have not seen a Toro Rosso defend against a Red Bull since when? 5 years?
You've got to say that that's more down to Kvyat saying, fuck you, Red Bull.
Yeah, and that's good.
Yeah, it's good.
Now, why couldn't Gasly get past him? Kvyat had DRS, right? Why couldn't Kvyat get past the car ahead of him? Because he had DRS. Well, why couldn't that car get past the car ahead of him who didn't have DRS? Because Giovinazzi was basically saying, come on then, if you want to go past, you're going to have to fucking work for it. But the difference is, and yes, it's Australia, in the previous races at Australia, they don't even get alongside. This time, how many times did Lando Norris, who I think did a fucking brilliant job, how many times did he get alongside Giovinazzi but couldn't make the overtake stick? And as far as Australian Grand Prix go, that's a step in the right direction. Now you come to Bahrain, where there's more opportunity for overtaking. The track's a bit wider. It's more of a racetrack. It could spice things up a little bit. So for me, just the fact of somebody being able to attempt the overtake was a step in the right direction for an Australian Grand Prix. Yeah,
I suppose. But maybe I was just expecting that a little bit more. I just, when you see a car that's come out of the pits late on in a race and a car that's struggling on his tyres, and the car that's come out of the pits cannot overtake him.
The thing is, you say struggling on his tyres. Kvyat wasn't struggling on his tyres. Kvyat was flying on his tyres. Because if you remember, when he went for the overtake, just after he'd been praised by the commentators, and he went straight on, I mean, okay, it was easy to go, oh, well, it's fucking Kvyat, innit? At least he gave it a go, and he didn't hit no one. Now, after that, he dropped, 4 or 5 seconds behind the car he was overtaking. It only took him 3 or 4 laps to catch that back up. And okay, he couldn't get past because the other guy was defending. But Kvyat was flying. To be fair, I think Kvyat had a very good race. He surprised me.
Well, one thing I would say that I noticed that stood out to me from this Grand Prix, which was different to previous years, is the fact that the director of the footage, of the feeds, the editors and what have you, decided to focus more on the battles through the field rather than just Bottas driving round up front.
Yeah.
Which in previous years it would have been, here's the leader, here's the leader,
Well,
and they did focus on the battles.
I was going to bring up the style of the broadcast actually, so we might as well do that now. Because if you remember, last year we all slated the Australian Grand Prix for a lack of action, but also for shit coverage on the cameras, which isn't Sky F1's fault or what. That was at this FOM's feed. And I'll agree with you, Steve, that yes, we did get to see more of the battles. I agree with you, and somebody must have made that decision towards the end of the race of, okay, we've got guys going for fastest laps, but we're going to ignore that because these guys are close. I can understand that, but it would be nice if FOM were to sort of give the commentators a bit of a heads up. They like as if they could have some sort of quick chat notification board from FOM which says, we know there's cars going for fastest lap, but these guys are close together, we're going to stick on this. Then the commentator can say, okay guys, we've got Bottas going for fastest lap, Verstappen going for fastest lap, but we have been told the cameras are going to stay on these guys because anything could happen here. And with that tiny little bit of information, that then stops people sitting there going, well, I want to see Bottas putting in the fastest lap of the race. But the thing is, do you? Or do you want to watch the act? Because if you went and watched Bottas do the fastest lap of the race, and then the cameras went, oh, and there was an overtake, and now we're going to have to show you a replay, James would be going fucking mental.
Well, I'd be quite happy 2 or 3 or 4 days later for it to be put up on YouTube of Bottas's fastest lap of the race, and I'd watch it.
Yeah,
but live, I want to see the overtake.
Yeah. Now, so in that respect, it was better. However, there was still way too much cutting away from the action on the track to show.
How many times did it show us blank track?
Oh, there were a few times where, like, why is it showing that angle? Because the car's already gone past. I think it were Charles Leclerc gone past camera.
Yeah.
And then the camera were like static and like wiggling from left to right, and I'm like, he's already gone through that corner. What they're doing? It
was almost as if they were waiting for somebody else to come round the corner.
Yeah,
but there wasn't anybody else. I mean, maybe they thought it was Vettel that had gone through shot, and Verstappen would come through shortly after, before when Verstappen was catching Vettel. But unfortunately, they did mess it up. But that was pretty similar to last year as well. So that'll get better.
What about the percentage of chance for an overtake?
That was an interesting feature, I thought.
It took me fucking ages to figure it out.
It took me about a second.
Go on, you explain it to me. James hasn't figured it out. Go on, explain it.
No, go on, James. Let's see what you got to say about that.
I looked at the graphic, I thought, fuck that, and didn't even look at it again.
Well, it's dead simple. One car has pitted, one car hasn't. So the gap between the two cars at the moment, they've calculated that gap plus the pit stop time and where they're likely to come back out on the track. Right? So that's what somebody has calculated. So at one point, they were on Fiat, and they were showing the gap that there could be between Fiat and Gasly when after Gasly had made his pit stop. So Gasly had just come out of the pits, and they're like, right, when Fiat pits, it looks like Gasly could be a second and a half ahead of Danny Kvyat. But within a few laps, Gasly had caught traffic, so when Kvyat pitted, he came out miles ahead of him. So that's all it is. It's letting you know about, right, this guy's pitted, and the person he was fighting with may come out just behind them or may come out just in front of them. And I think one of the reasons they've done that is because of the tyre temperature changes they've made for the rear tyres in the tyre warming blankets. When cars come out of the pits, it's going to be much harder for them to come out, pump in fast laps straight away and get an undercut because the tyres aren't up to temperature. So it also adds a little bit to as well, like Steve, where you were saying about why can't a car that's come out of the pits on brand new tyres get past a car on, well, for 2 or 3 laps they've got to warm the tyres up, so they lose time in that section. So rather than pitting early and getting ahead, if you pit early you may actually lose time, but when the other person pits, they may come out ahead of you, but you may have an opportunity to attack them because their tyres are cold. And that is something that I actually do like that they've brought into Formula 1.
I mean, I do like that idea, and I think that's where Mercedes might have messed up with Hamilton, because looking at when Hamilton pitted to cover off Vettel's undercut, with this new tyre, well, it's to do with the PSI as well as the tyre blankets, but to do with the tyres when they come out of the pits, with Vettel there was no undercut. There was not going to be an undercut.
He lost
time.
Look
at Bottas. Yeah, you look at Bottas's lap times. Bottas's lap times before he pitted. He was setting fastest laps.
I wonder if
that could have been Hamilton.
I wonder if there's multiple Bottas's. It's actually Bottai.
Probably.
But yeah, I mean, to be fair, Mercedes, in hindsight, could have literally just said to Lewis Hamilton, just keep driving, mate, don't pit, just keep going.
Yeah.
What I would have preferred, though, it's a great idea. However, I think just the way it were presented was not, for me, helpful. What I would have preferred is, like, for example, like a slider bar where it says pit stop time average this amount of time. Like, so let's say, for example, you've got a timeline.
Yeah.
And let's say, for example, Hamilton's stayed out. This wasn't the scenario, but just for an example, Vettel's pitted and Hamilton's not yet pitted, and at the time of the pit stop, Vettel was -5 seconds on Hamilton. So when he comes into the pit lane and exits the pit lane, there's like a slider showing +5 seconds, and then the undercut mark.
Yeah.
So you can see on a slider bar chart once Vettel's on them fresher tyres and he starts bringing that gap down, the bar starts moving to the undercut point.
Mm-hmm.
So you can visually see, and the bar then changes colour once he's... So let's say, for example, it's red, and then once that bar gets lower and hits that undercut point of -20 seconds to Hamilton, that's the point where you can visually see on a slider bar chart that he could potentially, if Hamilton pits now, he could potentially get in front into turn 1.
Yeah, I mean that is
some visually rather than numbers.
Well, it was visual as well, but I mean, basically what they did was that, but just in a slightly different.
I think there was too much on the. Yeah, I think there was too much in that on-screen display.
Yeah.
For your eyes to take in the information and understand it in a short period of time that it was on screen. Okay, they had a chances of overtake percentage, which that should be easy enough to understand, but they got a picture of a car and then all these green lines or orange lines different coloured lines, and it's like your eyes are going, okay, what do those lines mean? Actually, they mean pretty much fuck all, really, because there's a picture of a car, that means fuck all. All you need to know is who's pitted and where they're going to come out. And if this guy pits, where's he going to come out?
Yeah. That's what I mean by the bar thing, and with it changing colour and having a specific mark, you would visually, without looking at anything, be able to see.
The thing is, right, with
like on the Formula E, where you've got the chart, you've got the percentage thing.
I know what you're saying, James. I know what you're saying, James. But I'm going to cut you off for 1 second because there's one killer to your thought process on that. And it's the same with F1's process, is you're doing it reference a car that hasn't pitted yet, but that reference can change at any moment. So what they'd actually be better off doing on the beautiful new Halo graphic, which I think is very, very good, by the way. I think they should incorporate that into the F1 games, because that would be a much better display of having your rev counters, gear changes, all your information over the Halo would be so much better than having it blocking the mirrors.
The Halo.
Well, yeah, they're not in that. But if on there it also said current position P3, if he pits now will be P7 and then so many seconds behind P6. Or whatever. So if that was on if that was on every car's Halo graphic, just a quick, if they pitted now, they would come out here, then they wouldn't have to do anything else. Because if you've got Hamilton with Vettel 5 seconds behind him, right, and Vettel peels into the pits, Vettel comes out in 7th place and he's 5 seconds behind another car, right, if it then says on Hamilton's display currently P2, if he pits now will come out P7 1 second behind Vettel, that's all the information you need. Or would come out P8 1 second behind Bottas, who's crashed. Or that would be a much simpler way to do it. But I do know what you're saying. It was a little bit too much information, but at the same time, I like that they are bringing new stuff into it, like the Halo display, for example. I mean, I was interested to know what you guys thought about the Halo display, because I did think it was brilliant and that they should incorporate that into the games, because I know one of Steve's bugbears about the F1 games was if you pretty much no matter which view you were using, the information covers your mirrors.
Unless you want to drive cockpit view and not have the information displayed, so you use the steering wheel itself, the display on the steering wheel. Every other view blocks the mirrors. I mean, there are ways of moving the view slightly, but it's still not perfect.
To be fair, though, the mirrors were more useless than a chocolate teapot compared to the mirrors that you... No offence here, but compared to the mirrors you get on Gran Turismo in cockpit view, you look in the mirrors and it's exactly what's going on behind you. On Codemasters F1 games, when you looked in the mirrors, it was just like fucking. You might just see some wheels going whizzing round. So they were useless as it is.
Yeah, it would just be a grey blob with a picture of a car in it, rather than exactly what's behind you.
Yeah. So anyway, to get us back a bit more towards the action, James, you said something about Ferrari lying to us. Was it Ferrari lying to us, or were Mercedes lying to us?
Nah, I personally think Ferrari they had the perfect setup for high-speed corners. And unfortunately, there were only the fast left-right. I can't remember what turn number it is.
11 and 12.
Yeah, that I think that's the only fast corner. And even Brundle on the build-up was saying the Ferrari's bolting through here, absolutely pinned. Yeah. And most other people are lifting off here. So I think it's an unfair representation. I think Ferrari have just gone for very much high-speed aero package, and it doesn't appear to work very well at medium to slow-speed corners.
Well, I'd probably agree with you in a way. I think it was more Mercedes was hiding their pace. No, it's not necessarily deliberately hiding it, but did not display their pace until qualifying. All through pre-season testing, they were testing things that did not involve lap time.
Yeah.
And when it came down to producing lap time, they turned all the buttons to full maximum, and they delivered. I think Mercedes, in a way, were expecting Ferrari to be on that pace because they didn't know what their own pace was going to be either. Because Mercedes just thought that Ferrari looked so good in pre-season testing that Ferrari were going to be on the same pace as Mercedes. But I wouldn't say Ferrari haven't delivered. Ferrari have delivered exactly what they wanted to deliver, but Mercedes have just outdone them again.
I mean, there was an analogy that was said a long time ago, and Brundle kind of hinted at it over the course of the weekend. I mean, you mentioned it there, Jane. The Ferrari looked absolutely nailed to the floor at all times, apart from when Leclerc went over the grass at turn 1 and Vettel went over the gravel at the fast chicane in qualifying. But the car looked planted, it looked stable, it looked comfortable, but they're not features of speed. Whereas you look at the Mercedes, that looked so awful down the straights and so bumpy and shaky.
Yeah.
But it was fast. It
was fast, but I would love to see a comparison between the Ferrari and the Mercedes at a track like Turkey with super high speed corners. I'd love to see a comparison there, because I bet you 10 of the Ferrari would beat a Mercedes round like the Turkey circuit.
I mean, when you think about somewhere like Silverstone, Maggots, Beckett's, that is a definite feature of a car that's good in the corners. And I could see the Ferrari. Well, the Ferrari looked to handle a lot like how a Red Bull has handled. In that it is just very, very solid. It does exactly what you want it to do. It just didn't have the speed. Now, interestingly, Steve F1 is saying that he reckons Ferrari couldn't get the tyres into the right window, thinking that it might have been a setup issue. That is a possibility. It was very, very hot, but at the same time, I mean, I know some people are believing that the temperatures and the track surface benefited Mercedes' tyre temperatures, but if that's the case, it only benefited Bottas. It didn't benefit Hamilton.
But Hamilton had a problem with his floor. I don't know if you've seen this today. The reports that have come out that he had a piece of floor missing near his left rear, and that would have given him some balance issues on the corner. So that might have been why he was not able. I mean, to him driving, he would have been thinking his rear end was not gripping up as much. but basically he was losing rear downforce under the floor.
The thing is, though, it's not a big piece. Sorry, James, you're eating your microphone, by the way.
Sorry.
It wasn't a big piece of floor that was missing, and I have to beg the question: over the course of a race, is that a 29-second loss? Was it that he was behind Bottas? I will check out.
Yeah, I reckon it would be, and I tell you what. Tell you why I say that. I'll tell you why I say it would be, and that is from watching a lot of the pre-season livery reveals and all of that. And a lot of people have been talking about how the floors look, and also they've been watching them trying to explain about the rake on the cars and how Mercedes cars run really, really flat, but also the edges of the floor. They've got all these little cuts in them and turning points in them. And basically what that all does is trap the air under the car to give them virtual walls to create basically a vacuum effect. So they've got ground effect cars. Now you take out one of those pieces and all the air is escaping out of one side. But not only is it escaping out outside, the turbulent air off the rear wheel would have been coming inboard of the car and not being blown away. So that's where they would have had quite a lot of loss of performance from the underfloor of the car. I mean, it's like having a car with ground effects and without ground effects.
Maybe F1 should have like side impact barriers that connect the front wing to the rear wing or something, so they can take a nudge.
Well, I truly believe that. I mean, after seeing the little tiny piece that was missing and hearing about the performance loss because of it, and I'm thinking, well, just let them have ground effects. Just make the bodies go down to the floor. Just fuck it, let them have it. And it's like I'm worried about these front wings already.
With Danny Ricciardo.
Well, yeah, there is that. The end plates are so pointy that you touch a rear tyre, it's just going to explode it straight away.
Yeah.
To be fair, though, Charles Leclerc at turn 1 did tag the back of Vettel's rear left, and it didn't pop.
I didn't think there was contact.
I didn't. Think there was contact.
I didn't think there were contact until I saw the replay on board Verstappen,
right.
And you can clearly see at the point where Vettel's getting in front and Leclerc's trying to get back on the track before the grass turns up. He tags the rear tyre with his front wing, and his front wing flexes slightly, and there's a puff of smoke, so it definitely touched the rear tyre. But yeah, like I say, I didn't remember seeing it until I saw the replay when I got home from work.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I must admit, I had a similar concern, Steve. I didn't realise that there'd been a little bit of contact there. I mean, when it comes to the Ferrari and the Mercedes battle, one of the things that I took, well, a couple of the things that I took away from the Mercedes and Ferrari situation in Australia was, holy shit, Bottas, fucking well done, mate. Because not only did you just win the race, you've just dicked everybody. And not only have you just dicked everybody, you've also taken the fastest lap when you pitted pretty much last of everybody. So that I've not seen him drive like that before. Now you could argue, well, Hamilton had problems, Vettel had problems, and blah blah. Yeah, that's true. But if it had been Hamilton in the car, you'd be saying a phenomenal drive. If it had been Verstappen, you'd say phenomenal drive. So I think, to be fair, Bottas surprised me.
Yeah. Well, what did I say last week? I said I think Bottas will be out at end of season, and that we're going off of previous form of the second half of last year. If he'd have continued, he knows he needs to perform beyond his wildest dreams if he wants to even stay in a top team in Formula 1.
Yeah.
Otherwise, he's going to end up like Perez, just stuck in a midfield team. Good, but not good enough.
Yeah.
And he needs to get his elbows out. And I am actually really happy for him because, to be fair, not that I'm against Hamilton anyway, but it only makes the championship more exciting.
Yeah. And not only that, for me, it was the confidence in his voice where his engineer says to him, right, Valtteri, there's a lot of games being played back there. Basically, just we've got the win. We're going to win this unless there's a safety car. And Bottas is like, Yeah, but I want the fastest lap as well. I want 26 points. Yeah. It was the confidence in his voice of, yeah, but I want to show him I'm the best here today. And he was.
Yeah.
But not only that, he was even considering coming in for a
new set of tyres.
For a new set of tyres, yeah.
That's interesting as well, actually. I mean, okay, the other thing I was going to mention about Ferrari was how much I laughed when Vettel went, "Why are you so slow?" But we'll get onto that in a minute. You mentioned about Bottas. They were considering pitting for a fresh set of tyres. I could not, but I fucking banging my head against the wall when you, Steve, last week said, yeah, well, I think later in the season Ferrari may look at using Leclerc to steal the fastest lap off of Mercedes. And what happens, like 30 laps into the race, Brundle says, oh, I wonder if they'll think about bringing in Leclerc to take the fastest lap because he's got the perfect opportunity.
But to be fair, they should have done it.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, what did they get out of it? They got Leclerc catching up Vettel, and in the end of him being able to go for a fastest lap by pitting, now that we're looking at it from a fan's perspective, we're going, fucking hell, Ferrari.
Yeah.
You've just screwed over this young star from being able to take fourth place ahead of Vettel.
Yeah.
Now, to be fair, you could have said, Vettel, you pit and get the fastest lap.
Yeah. And then you get the point back.
You get your point. Well, it was 2 points.
Yeah.
If Leclerc would have overtaken Vettel, he would have gained 2 points.
Yeah.
So it would have been. He would have only lost 1 point, Vettel, if he got fastest lap. But at least he would have been able to pit, put new tyres on, and gone for a fastest lap.
Yeah.
Right. But they could have done that with Leclerc.
Yep.
So that Vettel still had the same amount of points, and Leclerc had one extra.
Yep.
But Ferrari have come out and said we didn't want to risk doing a pit stop. It's not worth to them. It's not worth 1 point.
The thing is, they had nothing to lose. They had a gap of 40 odd seconds.
Well, the thing is, there's something else that I'd not crossed my mind on the last podcast we did. It's not just one drivers' championship point; it's one constructors' point as well.
Yeah.
So Ferrari, as a constructor, if they want to beat Mercedes as a constructor, they need to stop Mercedes getting the extra point.
Yeah.
It's a 2 point swing. It's like in football, you have 6 pointers matches. There's no 6 points on offer, but it's called a 6 pointer because you're preventing the other team from getting 3 points. So in Formula One, you want to prevent the other team from getting the point, and you get the point, and you've got a +2 positive point. So basically, I'm gobsmacked Ferrari didn't do it in this situation they were in.
I was pissed off. Well, the thing is, I was excited initially. I was like, okay, I was like, right, they're not pitting him. Okay, let's see what happens here. Then he starts catching Vettel quickly, and I'm like, okay, they're gonna let the kid race. Cool, go for it. And then as soon as he got within DRS range, you could just tell he wasn't accelerating out the corners, and you're like, okay, has he been told something here? And then he drops off 3, 4,
seconds.
5, and you're like, oh, okay, they should have just fucking pitted him. Because, like you say, if they'd have pitted him and he comes out 15 seconds ahead of the car behind, even if he has a minor off at turn 1 like he did earlier in the race, it ain't a problem. He's still got the gap.
But not only that, right? Grosjean had a pit stop where his front wheel didn't go on properly, and they had to reattach it or whatever. His pit stop, he lost 10 seconds in the pit stop, I think it was. Right? The Ferrari had that time in hand to be able to put the tyres on and off and back on again if they needed to.
Yeah.
So if there'd have been a wheel gun issue in the pits, they would have had the time to deal with it.
Yeah.
It wasn't a marginal pit stop. They had 40 seconds to the car behind.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, I know there was talk before the race of Leclerc even saying, yes, there should be a 1-2. It's down to me to change that. I'm sorry, Leclerc, you've just been shown by Ferrari. It's not down to you to change that because they're not going to let you. It's as simple. They're not going to let you. I mean, the best thing he could have I think the best thing he could have done in that situation is gone, fuck it, I'm going past him. He might be a 4-time world champion, but I'm better than him at the moment, so I'm going to go past. That's the only way you change it.
Well,
or you beat him in qualifying.
Yes,
but
beat him in qualifying. But I can see a situation where if he beats him in qualifying and comes out the pits during a race behind him, and strategy means that he should be then overtaking Vettel, or Vettel should be moving out of the way because of strategy, he won't.
It won't happen. No.
No. But this all brings me back to bloody Eddie Irvine and Schumacher back in the day, when Eddie Irvine could have won a championship with Ferrari, but they kept basically helping Schumacher, and I can see the same thing happening here, where that could have been extra points, 2 points for Leclerc. Those 2 points could be vital. Let's say he goes on and wins 8 races in a row. I'm not saying he will. Let's say he does, and it's him and Hamilton, or him and Bottas, and then at the end of the championship, it comes down to the fact that he's not got enough fastest lap points.
Or he loses 2 points behind,
2 points behind. So he could have had a couple more fastest laps, or he could have been given way by Vettel on that occasion when he deserved it. And they miss out on a drivers' championship because of this early in the season. And what other teams this early in a season do that? Where let's face it, if Bottas had been catching up Hamilton at that stage in a race, they would have wanted to make sure Bottas would have got past Hamilton and driven up the road to make sure he didn't get caught up by anyone else.
Yeah. I mean, I can tell you're passionate about that situation, Steve. Either that or you're just grumpy today.
I don't know if I'm grumpy today or not. I've not been awake long enough to find out.
James?
Yeah, I must be grumpy.
James, anything to add on that Ferrari situation?
Yeah, I personally think that in the first few races, they're going to be very, very risk averse. And they'd seen what had happened with Grosjean, with a faulty tyre being put on. And the last thing that a team wants to do in the first race is give away a shitload of points, because they're trying to get 1 extra point, the pit, and because they're rushing to get Charles Leclerc back out in front of the pack. They fuck up one of the tyres, and then it's more points down the drain than what it's worth. But I think nearer the end of the season, they're going to regret it, because I bet you 10 of this championship goes down to a few points. And then they'll be like, fuck, if we'd have just gone for them fastest laps.
Yeah. But, I mean, this is the thing as well. It's like Mercedes, it was on there. They had a strategy of Bottas has got enough of a gap, he can pit for brand new tyres, and I think they would have done that if it was.
They must have spoke about it.
Yeah.
They must have spoke about it previously for him to say, "Am I pitting for fresh tyres?"
Mm-hmm.
They must have discussed it previously.
Yeah. And so Mercedes, it was on their radar, because even though Hamilton was struggling, they wanted him to give it a go as well, and he wanted to give it. Red Bull, they were going for it with Verstappen, and it's like, I expect it from Red Bull. I expect them to try and get those extra 21 points, and Hamilton has already said, look, it's an extra 21 points. If you can take all 21, you're going to want them. But it just,
I think he's wrong though, isn't he? Because it's 25 points for a win.
Yeah, it's 25 points for a win, but there's
20. No,
James. There's 21 races, meaning 21 fastest laps, equaling 21 points. Oh,
so it's 1 point per fastest lap, and 21 fastest laps over the season. So Bottas got 20.
So this race is going to be like there's 20 more points. Okay, fair enough.
Yes, 20 points available from this point going forward.
Yeah, and then there'll be 19, 18. That's what I mean. I thought what you did when he was saying, like, there's 21 points to go for. I'm like, but it's 25 points for a win. And then I realised what he meant.
Yeah.
Okay. From my point of view, I see the fastest lap thing a bit negatively. Yeah, I don't really see the point of it. But I see it as 1 point extra per race, which is not a lot. It's 1 point extra. They're seeing it as 21 points extra for the season.
Yeah. Okay, here's a question for you. Did you think that it did bring in an extra little bit of excitement towards the end of the race?
I think it did.
It meant
that at the end of the race, people were pushing.
Yeah.
And that's why I don't want to see people going, oh, well, I can't catch the car in front, so I'll give up. There's a lot of that. There's a lot.
To be fair, that was happening. The people that knew they couldn't get the fastest lap, there was no point in them pushing. And Vettel, once he'd realised that he wasn't going to be able to keep up with Verstappen, it's like, well, I've got Charles Leclerc behind me. I can't go for the fastest lap because the team obviously don't want me to go for the fastest lap. They must have discussed it previously. I might as well drive this car home in a leisurely pace because they're not going to let Leclerc pass me.
Yeah. However, you had people like Max Verstappen who were going, I'm going to go get that point. And if he'd have pushed so hard that he fucked up and crashed, we'd all be like, well, it's created a situation which would have never arose.
Yeah. And there are tracks that it can punish people that are going for it. I mean, I've been in that situation in a racing sense myself. I was like, I was only 1/10 off fastest lap. Right, let's go for it. And then crashed at turn 3.
Well, on Gran Turismo Sport on the PlayStation 4, if I'm doing like a one-player race event kind of thing, like in a campaign mode or something, and it's a 10-lap race, and I'm going round, and after lap 5, I'm miles ahead. I'm like, I was a bit faster that lap. Okay, next lap, let's go for fastest lap. That's new fastest lap. Can I go even faster? New fastest lap. Last lap of the race, fuck it up, lose the race.
Yeah. But that's the thing. I mean, I didn't expect the teams and drivers to get as gripped with it as they did, and I do think it did bring a little bit of something a little extra towards the end of the race. And as negative as I was about it and how it may be used, I think it could be an interesting feature throughout the race. However, I would still prefer to have points for all finishers, because then the Australian fans would have probably seen Danny Ricciardo out on track for an extra 20 laps, because his car could have got to the end, I reckon. But because he was miles out of the points and there was nothing to gain from it, they decided to park the car. And that, for me, is not right.
Yeah,
I'd agree with that.
I mean, it's like Birmingham City going to play Man United, and Birmingham are 4-0 down at half time, so they go, you know what, we might as well save our energy and not bother in the second half, we won't go out.
You mean like Burton did against Man City in the Cup?
Pretty much, yeah, but I said Birmingham because Steve F1's watching and he's a Birmingham City fan. Sorry, Steve. But yeah, okay, so let's talk Danny Ricciardo then. Obviously, first race with Renault, was out-qualified by his teammate, Just. Is that a feature? Is it a factor? Is it a good thing, a bad thing? Or is it first race in a new team, so you don't take it with a pinch, or you should take it with a pinch of salt?
James? What was it?
Take it with a pinch of salt. Cause I remember what race were it. I remember it was other way around. I think it was 2010, and the first race were the Bahrain Grand Prix, and it was dog shit. I mean, it was before they did a night race. It was
on the long track, wasn't it?
Yeah, it were on that super long track that was dog shit. And I seem to remember Vettel were out in the lead by a mile, and then he had an engine failure, and Alonso and Massa ended up overtaking him. Alonso ended up winning in the Ferrari. So it was his first. I think it was his first race in a Ferrari, and he won it. But apart from that, the race was a barfest. And everyone going, I can't believe that this is what Formula 1's turned into. Should have never got rid of refueling, blah, blah, blah. And they were blaming the regulations. And then the 2010 Australian Grand Prix was one of the best races ever to watch, where it was damp and the race just came alive. So I would never judge an entire season on one race, because you never know what's going to happen.
So what about Danny Rick?
I think that's what I was trying to say, though, isn't it? That Hulkenberg out-qualified him, but that's just one race.
Yeah, exactly. You never know how it's going to flip, because Hulkenberg's more settled in the team and knows the team more, and that's probably going to give him an advantage in the start of the season. But once Danny Rick gets more and more comfortable, his performance is just going to raise. So. And hopefully that'll push Hulkenberg as well. And hopefully that'll push the team further up the grid.
Yeah. What I want to know is, how the fuck did he get round turn 1 without wiping out 3 or 4 cars?
Oh no, I was waiting for it. I was like, oh, here we go.
He must have been on the brakes as soon as his front wing went.
Yeah.
I don't think he was. I don't think he realised it had gone until he actually hit the brakes. Because every camera angle I've seen of it, like from on board, when he's lost his wing, there isn't really anything that hints at the fact that he's lost his wing. You don't see it disappear.
Yeah.
So I think he didn't know that the wing had gone until he sort of went, because obviously being on that inside line, you've got to brake early for that first corner. And I think he braked and instantly knew, shit. And but how he stopped it, I've no idea, because I mean that should have been carnage. But fair play to him for not hitting anyone, and fair play to others for avoiding him. Unfortunately, I do think that created a knock-on effect, and that's why Kubica hit the back of Gasly and ended up losing his front wing. But that's a different story with Williams. But yeah, I mean, Danny Ricciardo, though, he's never had a good race around Australia, unfortunately. Well, no, he has.
No, he has, but he got disqualified.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, when I look at the grid and I go, okay, did Mercedes do well? One of the drivers did, yeah, and the other one did what he needed to do to make sure he got second place. Did Red Bull do well? Well, you know what? Yes, they did. Okay, Gasly got stuck, but Verstappen just showed that everybody in the Formula 1 grid, the Honda engine can work.
Oh, well, a Honda... Technically, a Honda engine beat a works Ferrari.
Yeah.
And not only that...
4 years ago, if somebody had turned around to you and said, a Honda engine is going to beat a works Ferrari, you'd have fucking laughed your head off.
I'd have laughed if you'd have said it a month ago. Actually, hang on, didn't I predict that Verstappen was going to win the race? Shit.
Which team had an engine blow up and catch on fire?
Renault. Oh, no, it wasn't Renault. It was McLaren.
McLaren with the Renault engine.
Yeah, Renault engine.
Yeah.
But it was McLaren. So is there still a situation where they are packaging the engine too tightly
I wouldn't be surprised.
and not giving it enough airflow?
Maybe.
I wouldn't be surprised, but I personally think Lando Norris did a fantastic job.
Oh, yeah.
But I in no way believe that Carlos Sainz and Lando Norris are anywhere near as good as the lineup from 2007, Alonso Hamilton.
Oh,
just nowhere near. So that car could have potentially, I believe, been beating the Hasses.
Yeah. I mean,
but because they've got inexperienced / inferior drivers. No offense to Carlos Sainz, because I think he's good, but I don't think either of them are at that level. They could have the potential to get to that level,
but they're not there.
But also, people go, oh well, you know, the young and all this lot. Hamilton was on it from day one. So
talking about young, something I saw today actually. Stoffel Van Dorn. How old is he?
26.
He's 26. I thought he was supposed to be a young driver. 26 is not a young driver. He's 27 this year.
Yeah.
He's not exactly a young driver, was he?
No. He was, I think came into F1 at 22, 23, something like that. So, yeah,
I mean, Carlos Sainz is younger than that, isn't he?
Yeah. Might be, yeah. I mean, okay, the way I look at it with McLaren's drivers is neither of them have had any experience of battling for a win in Formula 1. However, what I saw from Lando Norris was calmness, not under pressure, because he was the one applying the pressure. It would have been so easy for him to rip a wing off, rip a wheel off, trying to attack Giovinazzi. And Giovinazzi defended him hard, really fucking hard.
What did you think then in qualifying when all of a sudden he put himself into P3 before the track really started to rubber in?
I was like, holy shit, because it was a decent lap time as well. I was like, fucking hell. And then
that was before Mercedes had turned up.
I mean, to be fair, I saw the interview with Gasly after qualifying or during qualifying, and they said what happened there in Q1. They said, well, we thought the time was good enough, so we thought we didn't need to go again. Yeah,
big mistake.
You
big
fucked up.
mistake.
In all fairness,
you should never do that.
If I was the driver, I'd be saying, I want to be out there on track, because if anything changes, I need to be on track. Unless you're Lewis Hamilton or Valtteri Bottas, or you're in a Ferrari and you are way ahead, you have to be out there, because if the track does evolve like that, you can't afford to be sat in the pits.
But not only that, it's the first race of the season, and you do not know where you are in that pecking order.
Mm-hmm.
So how a team, I mean, that took over Red Bull straight away from the start, or Gasly anyway.
Yeah.
How you can predict what the cut-off point is going to be when you've not seen what everyone's ultimate performance is, especially now that both Renault and Honda have both got party mode. Yeah, you can't risk it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the new Ferrari team manager, or whatever you want to call him, Matteo Bonotti, I think his reaction said it all.
Mario, hang on, I'm trying to come up with a name here. Mario de Harry Potter.
Yeah, it looks like Harry Potter's dad. Yeah.
It does look like he's wearing Harry Potter glasses, to be fair.
Mario de Potter, that's his new name.
Okay, Mario de Potter. Expelliarmus. Actually, you know what, just mentioning that, there is a woman out there that she's on YouTube, and she has taught her dog. You know how, like, James, you've got Bella, and you might tell her to sit or get up or do this or stay. All of her instructions to her dog are Harry Potter, like sayings, spells. So, like,
yeah.
And the video is brilliant to watch, to be honest. But anyway, that's nothing like F1. But yeah, his Mario de Potter's reaction in qualifying said it all when Hamilton put the first fastest lap in, and he was just sat there shaking his head. You could tell he was going, "Oh fuck."
Yeah, they knew they didn't have that in the bag.
Yeah,
because I think Ferrari knew that they'd been sandbagging, but they had no idea how much Mercedes had in the bag extra.
Yeah,
until that lap.
Yeah, I mean, I do think it okay, if you were to take the first race as a course for the whole season, you could easily say, okay, it's going to be a battle between Mercedes and Ferrari, but Red Bull are going to win some races. And
I think Red Bull with Verstappen might win more races than Ferrari.
Ooh.
And the reason why I say that is because Ferrari will trip up over themselves too often from trying to help out Vettel instead of giving both drivers equal chance of winning a fucking race.
Yeah, you could be right.
Because they would rather have, to me, this is how it looks, they would rather have Vettel finish second and Leclerc third, and rather than having Vettel finish third and having Leclerc win it.
Yeah.
They're not going to give Leclerc the chance to win races.
Just like, I mean, I'm going to get on to something. I just want to quickly say hello to Enzo. It's either Lauga or Ialga who's listening in. Also, Steve F1 says Verstappen is younger than Gasly, but has more F1 experience. And that's the thing; it's F1 experience when it comes to like Norris and Sainz. Sainz is experienced, but he still hasn't fought for a win yet, and that's where Verstappen was. He won his first race in a Red Bull.
Yeah.
So,
what did you think they to? Lando Norris has got Albon picture on his wall.
Oh yeah, that was quite funny. Did you know about that, James?
No, what's that?
Right, basically there was a Sky feature where Simon Lazenby goes and plays golf with Zach Brown, Carlos Sainz, but Lando Norris wasn't playing golf because apparently he'd got a bad hand or something, which is bullshit. He probably just can't. He just can't play golf. So anyway, Lazenby says to Lando Norris, he says, what's this rumour or story I've heard about you having a picture of Alex Albon on your wall? He's like, well, yeah, I have. I said, why? And it turns out when Lando Norris was younger and started go-karting, a driver that he saw and basically became a fan of was Alexander Albon. But not necessarily because of who Alexander Albon was. Norris was into his motorbikes, and Albon had number 46.
Ross's number.
So he had a poster of Albon in his car with the number on his wall, and it's still there now, apparently.
Right.
Yeah.
But not only that, though, Albon is 3 years older, and when Norris got into go-karting and racing go-karts, he was one of the go-kart. He was basically the one to beat in go-karting. So yeah, that's how he knows him. But yeah, he kind of, I won't say he looked up to him, but he's obviously been very aware of him from an early age.
Not that anybody else has. I mean,
No.
Martin Brundle on one day said, I'm going to have to go and have a word with Alexander Albon because, yeah, I don't know who he is. Although, admittedly, on his grid walk, he did walk past him and he did clock him, and he was like, I'm not going to interrupt him now because he has told me that he doesn't want to be interviewed on the grid for his first race. It was like, fair enough. So yeah, I mean, so anyway, getting back to like sort of Red Bull. Red Bull, I do think are going to be up there and can win races, and I think will win races, which is going to fucking piss off McLaren even more. The Haas, Renault, Racing Point, Sauber, Toro Rosso battle. As I was watching the Australian Grand Prix, I was thinking, this could get very interesting over the course of a season, because if they're this close to each other in Australia, what's it going to be like at Bahrain, Spa, Silverstone, all these other tracks where the racing has the potential. I mean, you think about last year where the first race was shit, Bahrain was a bit better, but by the time it got to Silverstone kind of exploded.
Yeah.
I think these cars could do this. Well, I mean, Carlos Sainz's car I thought was going to explode, but I do think this could be a very exciting championship for what is being dubbed the B teams.
Yeah. Do you think, talking about the B teams, or a non-entity of a B team is Williams? Should Williams become a B team? Should they just say, do you know what? We cannot stay in this sport unless we become one.
Okay, that's different. If they were in a situation of we can't continue unless we become someone's B team, then yes, do it. And do it with Mercedes. However, if they can survive, then no, don't do it. That's not who Williams are. That's not what that'd be like saying, oh well, Ferrari in 5 years are going to be struggling, so they should be like a B team to Lamborghini. No.
Well, no, it's different because Ferrari make road cars. Williams don't.
It's right. That's different, yeah. But they're exactly the same. They are their own entity. Ferrari is Ferrari, Williams is Williams, Mercedes is Mercedes. Mercedes aren't going to be anybody's B team. Ferraris aren't going to be anybody's B team. Williams should never be anybody's B team. Lotus shouldn't be anybody's B team.
I can understand why they wouldn't. I can understand why they wouldn't want to be a B team, because then it'd be frowned upon if they were to beat the A team. But if they end up with a choice of B team or no team,
yeah, take the B team. I'd agree.
I personally think Ed's at the very, very top need a role, and not only do they need a role, there needs to be somebody who steps in right at the very top and goes, "This needs sorting right now." Because it's been going downhill since 2014. 2014 had a brilliant year, but that was mainly because they had a Mercedes engine.
It needs a Ross
After
Brawn,
that, it's gone
doesn't
dog shit. It does. Do you know what I was thinking the other day?
How long is a piece of string? Oh, look how big my poo was.
I was thinking, who's been at a big team that's been let go that's good and doesn't eat Freddos?
Who's you're on about if they were to bring in someone like the ex-Ferrari boss?
I'm thinking better than that.
Martin Whitmarsh.
I'm thinking
Ron
better
Dennis.
than that. Ron Dennis. What if you turned around to him and said, "Sort this shit out, mate," because Claire doesn't know what the fuck she's doing.
Ooh. You know what? Pre-Honda, I'd have 100% said yeah. Post-Honda, Well,
Do you know what?
now-
actually,
say
no,
that.
yeah, okay, I say that, but if Honda are successful over the next 2 years, and by successful I mean win one race, then Ron Dennis was not wrong. The people in
No.
charge of
I
McLaren
can
now
tell you,
were
I can
wrong.
tell you right now what Honda will win a race this year. Which from the Australian Grand Prix, before the Australian Grand Prix, I worried for Red Bull. I'm really, really not worried at all now. Because that engine is proved. I mean, Honda. We can't do any Honda jokes. a Honda car has just beat a works Ferrari.
Yeah.
So right there, no offence, it's still not as powerful as a Ferrari, but
Isn't it?
I don't think it is. I think if it hadn't had DRS, I don't think it'd have got past. But because of DRS, it allowed it.
Gasly had the highest top speed, but does that mean most power?
No, it means power and
Less
minimal
wing.
drag. Yeah.
Yes.
But if it wins the race, which I believe it will do, then Ron Dennis was not wrong. He was just wrong on the amount of time he believed it would take
On
to
the
get
time scale.
there.
Yeah.
However, it got there, but McLaren were too impatient to wait.
Says us who all sat here last year going, they need to fuck Honda off the shit.
Yeah, but that shows you why we're not getting paid the money that Ron Dennis gets paid.
Yeah.
But I personally think it's an absolute travesty that Ron Dennis will let go.
Yeah, I've got something I'm going to throw out there, and I'd be interested to know what other people think that are listening in on this podcast as well. If they could give us an instant reply to this, and that is, if Honda start making an engine that can win races, will the Honda F1 team return?
I thought you was going to say, will McLaren become a customer?
No. Will the Honda F1 team return? Because I can actually, if they can put their name on a car that can win races, they'll be like Renault. They want to win the races themselves.
Of course they do.
Yeah.
It's all about honour. But this is it. If you're an engine manufacturer, you don't come in. If you think about it, it's really, really wise from Honda. You don't just come in as a full-on team out of nowhere.
Exactly.
You've got to either buy a pre-made team, i.e. Braun
Williams.
/ Mercedes. And we've seen what happens in the past where you go with Williams, but you put your brand on, i.e. BMW Williams, and then what were it then? What were it after? What were it after BMW?
Mercedes.
No, but didn't Williams have another partner tied up, or because it was BMW Sauber? I'm trying to think.
They had Ford for a year, didn't they?
Right.
Oh, Ford was before BMW.
Yeah, I'm probably thinking more of the. It was always known as the BMW Sauber team. It was never just known as the BMW team. Whereas they're trying to force down our necks now that it's no longer Sauber, it's a full-on Alfa Romeo. So you can go that route, or you can get your engine working, get it up to scratch. Once you know it can win races, then you start hiring for your own team. And I wouldn't be surprised, Steve. I think that's a good shout, that.
Well, Steve F1 says as long as Alonso isn't driving, Honda hate Alonso. Well, maybe. It depends. If they can give him a winning engine, they'd probably enjoy proving him wrong that their engine is good enough. I mean, I think you're right, James, that Ron Dennis's timeline was wrong. And I think Steve makes an interesting point that, I mean, Honda came back into Formula One to win races and win championships when they were the Honda team. That never happened because their engine was never good enough and their car was never good enough. However, the year that they left, the car was good enough. It just needed the engine, and luckily the Mercedes dropped straight into it. So they had the people there to make the car. Now, would they come in and buy out a Red Bull? No. Would they come in and start up their own team? No. Would they take over somebody else? Maybe, and that could be a team like Williams, for example. If they end up in a situation where they cannot move forward, but the problem is, I don't think Williams have the ability at the moment to put a decent engine in their car and be up the grid, and that's proven because they have the engine that has been Constructors' Champion for the last 5 years, and they haven't got close to winning a fucking race.
They could take over Toro Rosso, and I say that because they've already got the foot in the door with the engine there. Yeah. But let's say, for instance, they wanted more than that, because. Forget about Toro Rosso for a minute. If you're Honda and you want to be back in Formula One with a full-blown race team and making your own engine, you go to someone like McLaren, like Red Bull, and say, right, we want to supply you with an engine. And then once you know that engine can win races, then you know it's good enough to put in your own car. And that's when you then buy a team. Now, the reason why I say Toro Rosso is because it could still be called Toro Rosso Honda, or the Honda Toro. You can still have the Toro Rosso livery.
Yeah, or
to be fair, sponsorship on it.
To be fair, when they came into F1 before, it was under the BAR.
Yeah,
wasn't it?
It was BAR,
and then they bought it out.
Yeah. So, it is something that could happen. I mean, I hinted again at Williams though about them not having a car that's good enough to bolt an engine into, and I want to remind you, Steve, about the story you told me, something you might want to tell James about Paddy Lowe and problems with the car and why Paddy Lowe may actually have been on leave.
Yeah. I don't know if you're aware of this, James, but before the Australian Grand Prix, there was 2 major crucial parts to the Williams car that was deemed illegal.
Right.
And this was about... The news broke, I think... about just after, maybe within a week of the Grand Prix. So basically they've landed in Australia and the news comes out that there's 2 parts to the car that is illegal. And they're not like small bits that you can just go, okay, we'll cut that off, we don't need it. Mirrors. All right?
Your mirrors are illegal.
All right? Yeah, the mirrors were illegal, but they had them concaved, right? So they were shaped so that you could see a wider angle behind you, but they did that so that because they're curved, they could curve the backside of them to allow the airflow to develop better around the car, right? To flow better around the car. Sounds ingenious, but they were deemed illegal because the mirrors are curved. Things in the mirrors seem further away than what they really are. So one of the rules in Formula One is you must have clear, precise view in your mirrors, right? Now, if it's deemed that things in your mirrors are actually further away or closer, whichever way around it was, closer to you than what they really are, they're illegal. So they have to have flat mirrors in Formula One.
Yeah.
So how that could have slipped through all the building processes to get to that point of it going on the car, going through all the testing, through pre-season testing, to get to Australia to then find out they're illegal, that's a big fuck up.
Yeah.
But not only that, the front wishbones on the Williams, you're only allowed 7 components to go from the car to the wheel. Now, a wishbone is deemed to be 2 parts because it comes out of the car in 2 different places and joins together at the wheel. So you've got your top strut, your bottom strut, your steering arm, and your track rod end, or whatever it is. So that's six things, right? But they added this additional one in front of the front the top wishbone, which was like an aero device which attached to the front wishbone, to the car and to the wheel as well. So it was deemed to be a 7th piece. But if it's the 7th piece, it's illegal. And they went through the whole of testing with it. Get to Australia, no, you can't have that. They've had to develop a new wishbone for the car.
Well,
So I don't know whether they were able to just cut that bit off and not run with it. But from what I read, they've had to develop a new wishbone. But how did they develop a new wishbone and race in Australia in such a short period of time? Unless they took one of their old stock from the previous car or something.
no, it wouldn't surprise me. But
what a fuck up. And is that why Paddy Lowe's not there?
Well, we've said how many times that there's a clear and fundamental issue with that team. And it's not something that's fixed overnight.
Well, it's not something that's fixed. It's not something that's fixed in the last 3 years. Going on the picture you sent us yesterday.
Exactly. Every single year for the past 3 years, the Williams average lap time in qualifying has been exactly the same.
Actually, it's got slower by half a tenth over the last 3 years.
So, by that point, what have they been doing for 3 years?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's the point where I would say, but unfortunately, poor old Frank Williams is in a situation where he's going to have to sack his daughter.
I wouldn't say necessarily sack her, but he needs to move her to one side or upstairs or in control of the telephones.
I don't want to come across as sexist, but if something like that ain't working,
it's not about sex. It's not about being sexist. It's not about it's not about, oh, she's a woman, it's not working. It's about, if that had been
any other person,
Martin Whitmarsh, he'd have been out the door.
He'd have been out the door.
Exactly. If it had been Ron Dennis, he was out the door. But what I don't get with Williams is you've got the best engine on the grid, and yet you're 4 to 5, maybe even 5 seconds a lap off the pace. Actually, it's even more than that, because I don't know if you can get this up while I'm talking about this, Dave. But FP1.
No, when you're talking, it puts me off.
Yeah. What was the fastest time that Williams did in FP3? And then the pole sitting time, because you've got to say that whatever the lap time was from Williams in FP1, that was their ultimate pace of that car. So if they could have gone faster, they would have done. If they had party mode, they would have used it. If for whatever reason, that car did that pace, but I'm pretty sure they were 4 seconds off the pace in FP1.
Not quite. Well, hang on. FP3, George Russell was 3.6 seconds off Lewis Hamilton's pace. Lewis did a 1:22.2. Kubica was 4.2 off, but I think he may have had problems.
He had a puncher.
That was in Q3, was it not?
Right. No, he didn't get through to Q3.
The Q1. You were saying F.
Right.
You were saying F3.
Sorry.
Do you mean the qualifying sessions?
I mean the qualifying sessions.
Slightly different.
In the first qualifying session, what was their fastest time?
Well, in the only qualifying session they were in. Robert Kubica did a 1:26.0, but he did have a puncture on his fastest lap. So if we go off George Russell, which was a 1:24.3, and Lewis Hamilton's fastest was a 1:20.4.
1:20.4 was pole position, yeah? All right. So 3.5 seconds, was that? Something like that.
Basically, it's 4 seconds.
4 seconds. Yeah, they've got the same engine. I mean, that is how can they develop a car so wrong to be that far off the pace?
Yeah, when you've got teams like, I mean, no offence, okay, Racing Point have had a big influx of money recently, but for the last 4 years, Racing Point has been a better car than, well, Force India has been a better car than Williams.
But not only have they had a big influx of money recently, they're running the car that was developed on the old amount of money.
Yeah.
So they're not. Their influx of money is not shown yet in performance.
Yeah. It is. I mean, we've said it for a while. It's a concerning time for Williams, and the gap may come down over the course of the year. But then they're going to get halfway through the championship and go, "Oh well, we may as well focus on next year's car." And yeah, I mean,
to be fair, they should be doing that already.
Yeah, I mean, I saw on one of the video clips over the weekend that it takes 16 months to design and build the F1 car, which means next year's car is effectively already in production. So, because it's already had 4 months of production.
Yeah, the Mercedes, I think they said that the Mercedes-Benz this year's was started in the summer of 2017.
Yeah. So for Williams, they probably, if they aren't already working on next year's car, they're already fucked for next year. And I think you guys are right. If it was anybody else running the company, they would be moved aside. Well, they'd be fired, to be honest. And it's not an easy job for Claire Williams at all. But at the same time, shit rolls downhill, yes, but you've got to look at who's rolling the shit down the hill, because there's only so many times you can fire or let go people further up the hill until you get to the top and go, right, well, we've got new people all below you, but shit's still rolling down the hill.
Well, we saw them fundamental issues taking place last year where there was such controversy because somebody wasn't wearing pants, they're wearing shorts.
Yeah.
Now, if that doesn't tell you there's a fundamental issue with the way the team is run, that might have been a massive thing back in 70s when Frank Williams run it. It might have been all about presentation and all this lot and making sure everything looks great for sponsors. But in this day and age, we live in a completely different world where, I'm sorry, when have you ever seen any of the Red Bull team wear anything corporate? It's always, look, do what you want, but do a good fucking job. That's what it's always been. And unfortunately, they're stuck in a way which, Ron Dennis, I said I'll bring him in, but it's very much an old school Ron Dennis way of running things. Yeah. And unfortunately, in this day and age, if you want to be successful, you've got to allow people to be creative. Yeah. And that's what held Lewis Hamilton back at McLaren. Yeah. Definitely. And once his mind was set free, his confidence and everything just grew and grew and grew. And unfortunately, it seems to me like Williams are stuck in this old school way of working where everything's got to be politically correct, and unfortunately, you don't win doing that. Talking
about Williams and being politically correct and all that, I did actually watch some of the Drive to Survive F1 documentary.
I've not seen that yet, but I did see Simon Lazenby introduce the Haas boss as the latest celebrity from like real life TV or whatever it's called. Reality TV star, that's it, because of how he is on that show. I've still not watched it.
I've not got to that bit yet. I've not got there yet, but they were doing some interviews, or it was a bit of a fly on the wall bit actually. It's mid race, and I think it was probably around Baku time, and you've got Claire Williams and Lawrence Stroll watching a screen while the race is happening, and Lawrence Stroll's face is like thunder. It is not fucking amused at all.
And she starts crying.
The thing is, right, she's saying things like, I mean, I don't know if I'm the right person for this job, but I'm going to give it all I've got. Her attitude does come across as completely wrong.
Yeah, it does, because even Vicky went, hang on, you're meant to be out there saying, we're going to go win, and that's our target. And it's literally like, our target's to bring the cars home.
Fuck that.
Like, what are you doing?
I mean, this is the thing, like, if you remember back from Hamilton's first one of his first ever pre-season tests, and he wrote the car off, backed it into a wall at 180 mile an hour, and when he got back to the pits, he thought he was going to get a bollocking, but Ron Dennis said to him, says, look, I'd bollock you if you didn't crash it. The fact you've crashed it shows me you were pushing. I want you to push. Okay. And that is how it should be. Not I mean, okay, there's a fine line between Hamilton pushing. Okay, it's not a fine line. Hamilton pushing and Grosjean crashing under a safety car. But there is a fine line between pushing and driving like a knobhead. So even Williams at the start of a season should be, look, we are going to be trying to win races here. We may not succeed, but we are going to try to win races. Exactly. And if you haven't got that attitude, piss off. And I mean, it's similar in football. I hate it when at the start of the season where or even with Formula One, where interviewers say, "So where do you think you might finish?" "Oh well, if we're in the top 10, we'll be happy." I won't be fucking happy. I want to be number one, and if I'm not number one, I want to be number fucking 2, right on number 1's fucking heels.
Yeah.
If I'm going to be beaten, I want to be beaten by the best. And I want to know that I've given my best, not, oh, well, we think we could be, or, yeah, if we get into Q2, we'll be happy. No.
Unfortunately, what it is it's too many people not wanting to come across looking like an idiot.
Yeah.
Like, oh, well, we want to set realistic goals because we don't want to look stupid. You look stupid anyway, so you might as well look even more stupid. Because at the end of the day, if you ain't got that mentality of, I'm going to go out there and fucking win, there's no fucking point.
Yeah. Even if it's, oh, okay, I'm in 15th place, I'm not scoring a point, oh, this guy's catching me up, I'm going to win this battle. That's better than, oh, well, he's in a faster car and I'll
let him pass.
Yeah, I'll let him pass so I don't get... I mean, how many times have you ever heard a boxer pre-fight go, yeah, he's going to knock me out in the 6th round? It doesn't happen. He goes, yeah, I'm going to knock you out, bitch.
Or if he was to say, oh, it's going to be a tough one, but if I can at least get to the 6th round, I'll have done myself proud.
Yeah.
No, you want to get to at least the end of the fight and then maybe win it, or at least knock him out.
Yeah.
But,
exactly.
I mean, you can understand. It's like, he punches harder than me, so you know what? I'm going to try and beat him with speed and manoeuvrability and make him chase me around the ring for 12 rounds, and I'll beat him on points. There's nothing wrong with saying, you know what? They're better than me. But I'm still going to try and fucking win. I'm going to try and find a way.
Exactly.
I mean, you look at Honda, when Honda were Honda, right? And they had...
When Honda were Honda.
When Honda were Honda, they're now like Aston Martin, Red Bull, Toro Rosso Honda. When Honda were Honda with in their last year, right? There is no one on this planet that could have seen that car was going to blitz everybody the next season. But somebody in that team sat there and basically went, I'm going to design a car that's going to destroy everybody else.
Yeah.
And that is exactly what they did. Now,
obviously, they mentioned it to Ross Brawn.
Yeah.
When they probably gave Adrian Newey the details that, look, we're going away from Renault because we're not a big fan of Renault, are we? No, we're not. So what have we got? Have we got a Ferrari? No. Don't tell me we've got a Mercedes. No. No, you fucking joking me.
It would be Aston Martin giving us an engine.
They didn't then just turn around and go, fuck, we've got a Honda, right this year off.
Yeah.
They went, we've got a Honda, but let's fucking make the best car we can.
Yeah.
And they've gone and got 3rd place in first race.
Yeah.
But one of the main differences, though, between the Red Bull this year and last year is even previous years, they were just given the Renault engine and had to build the car around it. And they wouldn't know the specifications of that engine or the size of the engine, the shape. They would have no choice in how big things would have to be, like the radiators or whatever, cooling ducts. They were told and they had to build around it. Now they're able to say to Honda, is it possible that you can make this part of the engine a bit smaller, or narrow off this bit here, or change this airbox? We need this airbox to flow small, have a smaller airflow. They can change parameters with Honda to develop it more.
No.
So that what?
Mr. Nui Inowake.
Mr. Audi say no.
No.
See, we can't.
They're able to this year get that Honda engine the shape they want it to fit the car.
It's not Hando anymore. It's Rando.
Why
Randy.
Rando?
Was it Randy?
Rando. No, half
Red
Red
Bull.
Bull.
Wed Bull. Wed Bull.
This sounds like Red Bulls. Okay. I mean, I must admit, it's exciting. It is exciting. I'm glad I'm wrong. I mean, I think I said last season that in a way I want to see Honda fail, but at the same time I want to see Honda and Red Bull succeed. Because it would be a much better situation, and I've got a feeling that they could. And if there's anybody that's going to take wins off Ferrari and Mercedes, it's going to be the Red Bull. And if Ferrari stick with that attitude of, oh yeah, well, we're going to play it safe, they're going to get dicked by Red Bull over the course of the championship, because Red Bull take risks.
Yeah, but you've got 4 engine manufacturers now, and you've got to say currently Renault is the bottom one.
Yeah. Okay, what about Haas then? How do you think Haas did? I mean, I know Grosjean lost a wheel, but it was quite a few laps from him pitting to his wheel coming off.
Well, it didn't actually come off. I think they detected it was loose, so I think it was probably cross-threaded. I think they probably knew straight out of the pits, or had an inkling, and probably had a discussion in private without any microphones or anything. And if they'd have said, stop the car, big fine.
Yeah.
Whereas
but
if they just...
They carry... I mean, his wheel, you say it didn't come off. It did. Okay, it didn't fall over off the car, but it was
said,
detached.
I've got suspension failure. Yeah. He actually said, I've got suspension failure. Yeah.
Well, you'd think that if you've done 3 or 4, well, yeah, I don't know why James is like. It was Ericsson. Oh, did you hear that Brundle and Crofty actually? I know Crofty hinted at that either in the practice or. What are you doing, James?
I'm being moved.
All right. Yeah, I know Crofty hinted at was it Paul di Resta? I think he sort of said at one point, he goes, "Oh, just blame Ericsson." Because obviously he's not there. So yeah, okay. I mean, it's not good that Haas had a problem with whatever it was on that front left wheel, and it's a shame for Grosjean in a way.
Is it?
Well, yeah. I mean, he wasn't doing a bad job. He was doing well in the race.
What you will find in that documentary that I told you about with Gunter Steiner, the reason why he's so fantastic in that documentary is because it's just raw. Not you usually think, oh, with a company you don't want to bring emotion into it, but Gunter Steiner shows how passionate he is about winning.
I'm sorry, Gene, we fucked up today.
Well, guys,
literally, Dave, that's what he rings up Gene Haas and says, "I'm really sorry, Gene, we fucked up today."
Well, he's honest.
But this is it.
But it's
later on in the season with Grosjean, it is fucking hilarious because he just goes like, somebody goes, "Oh, yeah." I think Grosjean completely crashes out for no reason whatsoever. And the engineer, the Chinese engineer that is Grosjean's engineer, goes, "Oh, yeah." He goes, "Oh, yeah, you were very unlucky there." Pretty much like along the lines of better luck next time, or, you know, you were very unlucky and, yeah, it wasn't your fault. And he even says it wasn't your fault, does the engineer, to Grosjean. And Gunter Steiner grabs the engineer, turns the microphone off, and goes, "I am not having you telling him that it's not his fault. It's his fault. He's just crashed." And he goes, "You stop pussyfooting around him." It's brilliant. You're like, yeah, the engineer is there to basically be your best mate, but. No offence, your best mates call you out if you're doing something wrong, or if you're not, and yet you kind of think, oh well, psychologically it's not going to do him any good by telling him his shit, but it might, because mollycoddling him is not working. So tell him his shit, and he might just go, "I'm not playing the victim card anymore," because unfortunately that's what he does. That's what Grosjean has always done. He's played the victim card every single time. "Feel sorry for me, I'm a sad little teddy bear." No, you're a fucking Formula 1 driver. Now go out there and get some fucking points.
It'd have been better off saying, "You fucked up there, mate. You need to do better next time."
Yeah.
and leave it at that.
Nah. I'd be like, you shit. What are you doing in that car?
No, you wouldn't. No, you wouldn't.
I'm going to tell.
You'd be like, Mr. Roman, Mr. Roman, can I have your signature, please, Mr. Roman?
Oh, no, he even says he has like a meal prepared for every single member of the Haas team, and Kevin Magnussen's like loving it because he's the only one with some points on the board. And Gunther Steiner stands up and even says, and even Vicky were like, "This is so fucking." Like, it's reality TV beyond, because reality TV is still scripted, whereas this is reality TV. This is what you want if you want to watch performance teams right at the very limit. And Gunther Steiner goes, "Oh yeah, unfortunately, looks like a second driver couldn't be bothered to turn up today. Either that, or he's just too upset to show his face." And it's like, if that's going on from your boss to the rest of the team, that's in order to basically say, we've done too much pussyfooting about. We need to now put pressure on you. And if you crumble under the pressure and you crumble under his mollycoddling you, you're out. Yeah. And luckily, the pressure of, look, mate, you're not performing, you're going to be out at the end of the season, it forced him to perform. And no offence, that should not. That's one thing that always worries me when drivers perform when they're under tons of pressure.
I mean, only perform.
Yeah, when drivers go, when somebody goes, well, you're out of contracts at the end of the year, so they've got to perform to get a job, and then they do these amazing performances. It's like, it's too late, mate. Should have done that right at the fucking beginning.
Yeah.
It's like, well, clearly the potential was there. And Grosjean, even in that documentary, goes, "Oh, well, I'm getting a sports psychologist to help me through this difficult time and all this lot." I'm pretty sure Nico Rosberg got a sports psychologist to help him, but I never once remember Nico Rosberg going, "Oh, yeah, I brought me psychological... my psycho..." Yeah, I've brought
he just brought his tampon for his forward.
Yeah, counsellor probably said that were a bit of a dick move there, mate. What do you mean? Tampon? It's for your fanny, not your head, dickhead. Anyway, stop rubbing your fanny on me.
Okay, I mean, all right. K-Mag, to be fair, all right, he finished in 6th place, so he done all right. Hulkenberg, though, he finished in 7th. What did you make of that?
You go first, Steve. I'm just making a tea.
I expected the Renault to be ahead of the Haas, to be fair. I don't know why. I just thought it was going to be. The reason why I think that, I did think that, was because of their positioning on the grid. All right, they had free choice of tyre, and I thought that would turn into a good strategy and be able to profit from it, but it never really happened. So I would have liked, 7th position, not bad. Say, was it for Hulkenberg? I think he should have had 6th, though, really.
Kimi Räikkönen, Alfa Romeo, finished 8th.
Didn't really see much from Kimi, though, as in like attacking and defending. I don't know whether it was just not his day or what, but he just didn't seem on it for me today, Sunday.
Well, he was on it enough to finish 8th, so I mean, it's not bad. Okay, last season Alfa finished in 6th towards the end of the season alone. I wouldn't be worried if I was Kimi Räikkönen. This though, the shitty walk in the park, beating his teammate by 4 places. Lance Stroll finished 9th, Sergio Perez finished 13th.
Hang on, you didn't get my opinion on Renault.
I know, I totally bypassed it on purpose.
Thanks.
You're welcome. I was saving this for you, James. Stroll beats Perez.
Yeah. I think
just shows how shit Perez is.
I think Perez is going to get well fucked off because I bet you there's a clause in there that Stroll gets the best parts first because it's daddy's team.
Maybe. So go on then, James. Give us your view on Renault. Okay, on to McLaren.
I personally think that Renault had... oh, shit. I personally think that Renault had better high-speed potential because how close Hülkenberg was able to follow cars, it didn't have the potential to overtake, but it definitely had the potential to get side-by-side with the Hasses a lot.
Yeah.
And then through the high-speed corners, you could clearly see Hülkenberg were able to stick with people. And I kind of thought, I'll reserve judgment for when Renault are on a proper racetrack. Because I bet you the Renault will be where the Hasses were.
Yeah. I just thought I just want to mention now before I forget. Something to do with Formula One that we like it to see when the cars go side by side. Mm-hmm. And the DRS and the rules, like you said, we did get to see the cars down into turn 3 on a number of occasions, get side by side, but the car on the inside has the priority on the exit in a way. That's the way Formula 1 sees it. You can run them out of road. Right? But when we've done our gaming leagues, we've always done it as if a car is alongside you, you've got to give them a car's width. You can't run them out of room. Mm-hmm. Would Formula 1 be better off bringing that rule in, saying you must always leave space if there's a car up alongside you?
Yes.
Would that then lead into better racing? Because if you think Lando Norris around the outside of Giovinazzi, he would have got around the outside of turn 3, still been alongside him on the inside of turn 2. Sorry, turn 2.
Turn 4. Fucking hell, he's going the wrong way,
turn
Steve.
4, yeah. Turn 4. Right, and then it would have been all down to grip and power coming out of turn 5, and you would have had cars wanting to be side by side.
Yeah.
The rules at the moment means you don't want to put your car side by side in fear of being run off the track.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you because I was going to bring that up as well. Because I did chuckle when Nico Hülkenberg tried it, and then he went, "Why was I not surprised?" Because it was Magnussen. but
I think that would you. This is one of the main reasons why I like Hülkenberg, because he kind of speaks his mind, but he's not a dick. Whereas a lot of Germans, no offence to us German listeners if we have any, but you know what I mean about German arrogance. I've no idea, James. I am not pairing myself with whatever you're about to say.
You're on your own with this one, James.
But you both agree, but you're too chicken to follow through, right?
Yeah. I would admit that Vettel is like that, and Schumacher was like that. Ralph Schumacher was like that.
Yeah,
I can see where you're going, but I wouldn't go as far to say as all Germans.
Yeah, or even most.
Yeah, I probably used the wrong words. I probably used the wrong words there. But
all
the stereotypical German arrogance.
Yeah.
He hasn't got it. He's more level-headed.
He comes across as more English than German, though, doesn't he?
He does. He seems very like he understands sarcasm a lot.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm like, not only is he quick, I'm kind of like, yeah, that's kind of like what I'd probably be saying. Or, if anything, I can see the rivalry between Magnussen and Hülkenberg really getting to a point where they're smashing into each other at certain races. But in a way, because they've got very similar paced cars, I can see it happening a lot this season.
The thing is, Hülkenberg's the type of person that I don't think he would ever intentionally crash into somebody, but I do think he's the kind of person that he would give people, if someone was next to him, he'd give them room. But if it's Magnussen, he ain't giving him a fucking inch. He'll go out of his way to make sure he's run out of fucking road.
Of course he will. He'll be like, pay back here, mate.
Yeah,
I thought you were going to say cock,
cocks
not
are
possible.
but the thing is, I do agree with Steve, and I know, okay, we brought it into gaming leagues because we feel that it's fairer and it creates better racing and overtakes can last a number of corners. I am not a fan of a driver gets alongside and then he's just forced out of room. I don't like that at all. For me, that's not a. I mean, it's a little bit like in football. Somebody's got a penalty, but the opposing team is allowed to stand in front of the ball before he kicks it. It's like it's not right.
It's like saying we're already 1-0 up, so we're allowed to stand in front of you when you take the penalty.
Yeah.
But a counter argument here. I'm not a huge fan of football, but I know the tension is really, really high when you have a derby like Man City v Man United.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember just from being a kid, my dad going, watch out for Paul Scholes and watch out for Roy Keane. They're going to end up destroying somebody within the first few minutes.
Yeah.
Because that was their psychological game.
Inga Haaland.
It were destroy your enemy and make them fear you for the rest of the game within the first few minutes.
Yeah.
And it creates tension, and the tension boils and boils and boils, and by the end of it, you get an explosion. The only thing that I think you would remove if you implemented a situation where, for example, it'd be the same in football, where any tackle where you knock the player over, an instant red card, it'd create a lot of pussyfooting about. And not that the racing isn't fantastic in the racing leagues. However, sometimes the tension and controversy that's brought out of them situations becomes a massive story where, yeah, I would probably prefer more action, but a massive story sells.
Yeah, but let's be realistic, right? What do you want to do, right? Do you want to sit and watch a great race, or do you want to sit and read a book that's got a great story in it?
Both.
I want to see great action on the track.
I'd rather watch
I don't read books.
The thing,
I see your point.
I can see it from both sides. I mean, it's one of those things where, okay, you can't fault Lando Norris or Hulkenberg for putting their cars where they did. They had an opportunity and they were going for it. They were trying it.
If Lando Norris really, really wanted that position, if he was in front slightly into the braking zone, he would have been entitled to space. Because he was behind slightly every single time, he wasn't.
Yeah, but
he needed to do a Danny Ricciardo on the brakes, not up the inside, still on the outside on the racing line, but just take it a bit deeper so that his front wing was in front of Giovinazzi's. Then Giovinazzi would have had clear evidence of, I can't run him out wide here because he's there.
The thing is, though, that's with the rules as they are at the moment, which they're the rules and drivers are allowed to do that. So you can't, well, you can complain, but you have to accept it.
However, do think if that rule was to be put in place, you would have to have like NASCAR style spotters on the radio constantly because I think on a racing game it's easier because if you have a racing league, you turn the radar off and you pretty much get rid of the mirrors because they're shit. You put Codemasters mirrors on where you have a blurry image in the background because that's pretty much what you'll get in real life Formula 1. The amount of incidents that will happen will be beyond what you have now where, for example, GT Sport, you've got a radar which helps a million times.
But that'd be all part of it. Right, I mean, look at it this way. They wouldn't need spotters, right? Because other than Vettel, pretty much every driver knows when there's a car next to him. I mean,
I'm trying to speak, but I was on mute.
If you've ever done anything like go-karting, for example, you don't have mirrors, but you know where they are. And
Yeah,
in Formula One, it is a little bit different, and there are fine margins, but that's all part of racing.
And I
Right.
disagree
Yeah.
with the fact they're saying there'll be more incidents. I think it'll be the opposite. There'll be less incidents. And I'll tell you why that is the case. Because you have to give room to cars that are alongside you. And if you do not know if they're alongside you, what should you do?
You're going to crash
Give-
into them.
No, you give space, you twat. You give
Yeah,
space.
but if you don't know there's a car alongside you,
You shouldn't be in the car.
You shouldn't be in the car.
You know there's a car behind you that's faster than you, that's trying to overtake you.
Yeah.
Right? You know you move to one side to cover the inside. Where's the car going to go?
On the grass.
He's going to go around the outside.
It's going to try and go around the outside. So on the exit of the corner, you have to try and leave a bit of space.
Yeah. I mean, what I would say is, I mean, a good example of this was, did you spot the point where Giovinazzi shit himself in the race?
Yes, when because
When Magnussen was behind him and faked a dive bomb.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
And I mean, he was a good 3-4 car lengths back. But
Yeah, he shouldn't have defended that one.
No, well, he didn't. But Giovinazzi,
It put him off.
He had enough awareness that Magnussen's movement made him think, shit, I'm going to have to leave a bit of room here. And he fucked up. Now, to be fair, it was brilliant from Magnussen.
He looked in the mirror, saw that Magnussen was going to go for a dive bomb, and then covered the inside, but he covered it so late, he'd not sorted himself out for the exit.
He didn't make the apex.
He was about he was about 3 car whips away from. He didn't cover the inside at all. He was going for the corner, and he was on the racing line, positioned as if he was going to go for the corner, and then as he sort of went to turn in, that's when he was like, "Oh shit, he's coming," and bugged out of it. And Magnussen just drove past.
I can see both arguments. I do agree that it would create better racing. However, I can see so many more Sebastian Vettels turning up just going, I didn't see him.
Well, yeah, but at the same time, I mean, okay, you've obviously seen the footage of Leclerc and Vettel at turn 2.
Yeah.
That to me, that was Vettel saying, fuck off. That wasn't a cover my position or I had nowhere else to go. That was a, oi mate, fuck off. Now, he's allowed to do it in the current rules, but he ran his own teammate off the road because he's allowed to. You make it where he's not allowed to, you really see how aware these drivers are. I mean, you look at it this way, right, James? When me and you have battled on track recently, what's the good bit about it? Is it the forcing each other off the track, or is it the fact that you're given the space to actually fight?
I did force Steve F1 off the track last night, and that was good fun.
Well, I've got to personally say, I don't normally like coming second in a race, but we had a race last night around Barcelona in a Red Bull Junior, which is similar to an F1 car. I don't think we touched, but it was epic. And that was mainly because we've raced together so much that we know the way that our brains work. Mm-hmm. And it's that kind of, like what I explained last night, it's like playing chess at 200 mile an hour, where every single margin for error will cause a massive impact because you're so similar on pace. And unfortunately, I personally believe that there's some Formula 1 drivers on the, well, like what I've said before, there's some Formula 1 drivers who shouldn't be on the grid because they're not to the standard of a Lewis Hamilton, Alonso.
Okay, talking about drivers who shouldn't be on the grid, Robert Kubica.
Yeah.
Discuss.
Are you saying he shouldn't be on the grid?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying.
I don't think he should be on the grid. He
had a shocking weekend. I mean,
well, I'm sorry. Who in the right mind? Right, he was a Renault reserve driver for how many years, and Renault didn't take him up. That's ringing alarm bells. He stayed on as an advisor, driver coach last year for Williams, And personally, that's what he should have stayed doing. I personally do not think Robert Kubica is the same driver.
Is that because he hit the pit wall and hit the wall and hit the back of Gasly?
I personally think I've said this before. I might not have done. I'm pretty sure I have. Schumacher, the current greatest in terms of number of championships driver in history, went away for 3 years and came back. And for the first year, he was a shadow of his former self. 11, a little bit better. 12, a little bit better.
One pole position that was taken away from him.
Decided, you know what? I'm not as quick as I used to be. I think he got on the podium once at Valencia, and that was 2012. So he got better, but it took him near 3 years to get back to a semi-decent level. That was after being 3 years out. How many years has Kubica been out?
9.
8, 9, yeah.
I'm sorry. If that ain't ringing alarm bells, I don't know what you need. You want alarm bells that are as big as fucking Big Ben. So fucking hell.
I'd look at it this way and just put it simply down to what happens between him and his teammate. His teammate outperformed him in the practice sessions, his teammate outperformed him in qualifying, and his teammate outperformed him in the race, unfortunately. The only thing is, I mean, I hope that isn't James having a piss. The only thing is, the only thing you can judge him on is against his teammate, and I do think it's a great let's put it this way, I'd rather have Robert Kubica in that car than Lance Stroll. So
agreed.
But you've got Esteban Ocon out there just begging for a drive. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but at the same time, I think it would be worse for Ocon himself. It's better for Ocon to be sat in the Mercedes garage than it would be to be sat in the Williams car.
Unless the Williams was competitive, yeah.
If the Williams was competitive, then yeah, fair enough. But with the Williams as it is now, Ocon is better sat in the Mercedes garage than he would be sat in Kubica's seat. Okay, couple of questions for you from Drew. Let's see. Why the hell did the Llama's engine explode? Because it's a Renault and it's in a McLaren. We did discuss that earlier on.
Whose engine?
He's on about science.
Did you say a llama?
Yeah, llama. I don't know why he calls him a llama. I'm sure we'll find out. He then also says, so Lewis would have kicked Bottas's ass if his floor wasn't damaged? Question mark.
No,
I don't think he would have done.
No.
No, I don't think he would have kicked his ass. I think it would have been even Stevens, but Bottas getting the jump at the start would have had the upper hand throughout the race.
Yeah. Steve F1 sort of agrees, well, Bottas would still have beat Hamilton even if his floor wasn't damaged. How can you know? Nobody can beat Hamilton unless you put a rocket behind the car. Bottas, I didn't see a rocket, but I did see him win. So yeah, what else was I going to mention? Oh yes, okay, predictions. We need to go through how we did on the predictions, guys.
Oh bollocks. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Danny Ricciardo.
Did you even pick him for anything, James?
I think I said for him to come third.
You did, yeah. Now, I haven't done a predictions picture this time. I might not do it for this season. It keeps it a little more secretive to these two that way.
Just to let you know, I'm just going to loo, so I might be a bit indisposed, but I'm listening.
It's probably better if James mutes his mic at this moment. Okay, let's see. I'm half tempted now, though, to just say, right, come on then, James, let's listen to you having a shit. But no, we don't. We do not need that. Okay, so let's see. Steve, for pole position, do you remember who you said? I
said Hamilton.
And you were correct, so you get a point for that. James said Vettel, and he was nowhere fucking near. He was nearly a second behind, wasn't he?
6.5 tenths.
Yeah, and I said Max Verstappen, and that was never going to happen. Steve, for the winner, went for Hamilton, and that didn't happen. James went for Leclerc. You never know, it could have happened, but I've got a feeling it'll never happen. Not now, anyway.
Yeah.
I went for Leclerc as well. Unfortunately, I think Ferrari have just simply shown that, yeah, whoever may be a Leclerc fan, yeah, he's got no chance with Ferrari's backing of Vettel.
Well, what I would say is he will probably be the next Ferrari world champion.
Yeah,
but not while Vettel's there.
Yeah, I can see Ferrari, as you said earlier, I can see Ferrari missing out on a driver's or even a constructor's by holding Leclerc back.
I predicted in the past, and I still stick by this, I don't think Sebastian Vettel will win another championship in a Ferrari.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he'll win another championship, full stop.
No.
I think he'll only win another championship if he returns back to Red Bull.
Won't happen.
I don't think is he good enough to beat Verstappen?
No.
There we go. Okay, for the podiums then, Steve, you said it would be Hamilton, Leclerc and Max Verstappen.
I got one in the right place.
Yes, you did. You got Max Verstappen in the right place, so you get 2 points for that, and 1 point for Hamilton being on the podium. James went for Leclerc, Hamilton, and Ricciardo.
Oh, so he gets 2 points for Hamilton.
Gets 2 points for Hamilton. And I went with Vettel, Hamilton, and Leclerc. So
you get 2.
I get 2 points for Hamilton, yeah. Okay, first to crash out. Steve, you went for Albon, and to be fair, he didn't. James went for Grosjean, can't technically call it crashing out. And I went for Kvyat, and he nearly did, but yeah, nobody did. Which was a bit of a surprise, really.
Yeah, Danny Rick, you could kind of say he could have almost crashed out, but yeah. If he's able to return back to the pits, it's not crashing out, is it?
Nope. Okay, fastest lap of the race. Steve said it'd be Bottas.
Woohoo!
James said it'd be Norris.
Are you sure?
Yeah, he said it'd be Norris. And I said that it'd be Max Verstappen. So Steve gets the point for that.
I didn't say Norris.
Yeah,
no way.
Yes, you did. You did.
I'm going to have to go back and listen to last weekend. Never said that.
You did. You did.
Lando Norris?
Yeah.
I would never... Oh, yeah, because I said he never makes a mistake, so I got it. Ah, that's where it was.
Yeah. Okay, the number of drivers that finished the race. Do either of you remember what you said there?
18.
That is correct. You said 18. James, do you remember how many you said?
15?
Yeah, that is what you said.
Did you say 8?
I said 12.
12.
I said 8.
So I'm closest. Do I get a point or do I get no point because I wasn't close enough?
You didn't get it right. It was 17, so you don't get any points.
Come on.
Fuck off.
Unlucky, Steve.
Yeah.
Unlucky.
One away.
Yeah, 1 away. That's incorrect. That's like saying, what's my name? Daniel. Oh, you're only a couple of letters away.
Started with a D, so we'll give it, Daniel, how you doing?
I will remember this.
Yeah.
For in the future when we say, oh, you were nearly there, or you were the closest one.
No, you see, we'll predetermine if it's closest wins.
But we didn't. Otherwise, I'd have said 17.
Exactly. We didn't say closest wins, so you don't get the point for it. What that means is that Steve takes an early lead, even though he's fucking moaning. An early lead on 5 points, with me and James both on 2.
Hang on. Are you not going to explain about the other prediction we made?
Well, yeah, but it's not part. It's not part of the points tally system. It was a bonus feature, of which was how many overtakes would there be in the race. Steve said there'd be 36. James said there'd be 87, and I said there'd be 16. And what's the answer, Steve?
We've got no fucking clue because we can't find it publicised anywhere.
And there you go. So no points to anyone for that one. Although I'm closest, so I reckon I should get the points for that. Yeah, I'll have a bonus point. Thank you very much. I wouldn't do that. So yeah, interesting. And I think I've got a feeling I've missed something. Hang on, I took a picture of something earlier. Reminds me. Ah, that's one thing. Yeah. There was something else. I think. No, that was it. Okay. Yeah. So that's pretty much everything I've got from the Australian Grand Prix. Is there anything else that you guys want to mention about the Australian race?
Yes. All right. I saw something on Facebook today. A couple of things. Well, the first thing I saw today is a table to do with destruction.
All right.
No, destruction table. Who's cost the team the most amount of money in destroying their car so far this season?
Oh, okay. Kubica.
No.
Oh, hang on. Does that include like all practice sessions and stuff?
Yes.
Oh, in that case, then it's probably Gasly.
Yeah, 2.2 million.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's no.
Vettel for 400,000, 4,500,000. Yeah. So Vettel's. Sorry, go on.
Imagine if it were written into a driver's contract that the damage on the car that would be determined through driver error comes out of your wage.
Oh, fucking hell, the drivers would never attempt an overtake. So what was the other thing then, Steve, you spotted?
The other thing is what you were probably just about to say, and that is the order and appearance and how long drivers spent on the intro to the F1 race.
Yeah, that is what I was going to mention.
And the screen time of each driver.
So
how the hell?
Hang on. Before you just announce it, right? Hang on. If James hasn't seen this, we'll ask James. James, who do you think?
Yeah, go.
Who do you think is on the intro for the longest amount of time?
Sebastian Vettel.
No. Try again.
Max Verstappen.
No.
Kimi Räikkönen.
No.
Robert Kubica.
No.
But this way, James, at the moment you've got nobody in the top 6.
Well, it's Hamilton's going to be up near the top, but I wouldn't.
No,
it'd be too obvious, wouldn't it? I don't know. Somebody shit. Go on.
So I'll tell you, I'll do it in reverse order. Right, Hamilton is in 5th. He's on screen for 2 seconds. Kevin Magnussen is on screen for 2.2 seconds. Grosjean is on screen for 2.2 seconds. Alexander Albon is on screen for 2.4 seconds. And with the most time of 2.56 seconds, it is the one and only Sergio Perez.
He probably paid for that extra time. It was like every single 10th of a second your face is on screen, you've got to pay us £1 million.
All right.
And Sergio,
who was on
just ring Bank of Mexico.
Who was on the least?
Who was the least amount of time?
Vettel.
Nope.
Bottas.
Nope.
As well, one thing that I noticed, I'm not really answering this question. I don't know, but one thing I noticed, I thought they were doing the order in
Teams.
constructor order, but then it went
a bit haywire.
It showed Hulkenberg, then it showed somebody else, then it showed Ricciardo, and I'm like, hang on, they're in the same team, why didn't it show them two together?
Yeah.
And then it threw right at the end. It went Max Verstappen, Vettel, Hamilton, and I kind of like, well, they're not in the same team. I could understand them meaning these three are the main top guys you need to look out for.
But why start it in the way they did?
Yeah. I think it should have been consistent across the board of start with the drivers at the very tail end, go through the team order in constructors from the previous year, and then you end up with the top team, so Bottas and Hamilton, on screen for an extra second, and maybe like the world champion stud.
I wouldn't have even done. I'd have done it on last season's drivers' championship order, and if you weren't in the championship, you're on screen first. So it would have been simple as that. I tell you, I'm going to go through the bottom 5 of the list though of who's on for the shortest amount of time. Right, Robert Kubica and George Russell were both on screen for 1.12 seconds.
I've got to say, sorry, can I just cut you off?
No.
I've got to say, I never look at George Russell because Kubica's forehead's so big, it's like the moon, and I go, oh my God, is that Max Verstappen's sister? And I go, no, it's Kubica. And then it's the next one, and I'm like, oh, missed it with that in background.
Right, okay, well done. Okay, so with 1 second is a joint Gasly.
I thought you meant there's a joint on screen.
Sorry, I'm not smoking live. I'll show you. Right, Pierre Gasly and Charles Leclerc both with a second, but they're also joined by Danny Ricciardo. So there's 3 of them that are only on screen for 1 second. But yeah, how is Ricciardo there for 1 second when he's one of the stars? And Sergio Perez is top of the order when he's a fucking nobody. No offence.
I think they must have sorted out the order if they're going to run them in, and then they've done it in time with the music, so it changes from one driver to the next in time with the music. And it just happens that when they do it with a certain beat, it means that some drivers are shorter than others.
I'll tell you what I'll do if I have any spare time, or I just feel like, life's not worth living anymore, I'll re-edit it and show what I'd have done.
That could be interesting. Interesting indeed.
It'll end with 20 seconds of Sergio Perez just going, duh. Like as if he's the star.
What you should do, you have Romain Grosjean appear, and then Ericsson comes in from the side, knocks him off screen, and takes his place.
And then somebody rips off one of Stroll's eyebrows, and then it's like a dark figure just rips off one of his eyebrows, and he turns around and goes, "Hi, who are you?" And it's all in dark, and then you just hear, "Hang on, who's that?" And Nigel Mansell comes out in his old race suit, but he's right bloated now. Comes out, he's got his old race suit on, cap and that, and then just right at the end, he puts Stroll's eyebrow on his top lip. And then music goes, duh. And it's like, what's that got to do with all? And it's like, just cause.
I tell you, something you might want to see actually is have a look for the Eric Cantona Paddy Power advert.
Yeah, I've seen about 4 times today.
About Brexit. It's brilliant. It really is brilliant.
Yeah.
Right, anyway.
Yeah.
I was going to say, we're not going to be doing any predictions today for the next race, because the next race isn't this weekend, it's the weekend after, which will be Bahrain. So that could be, hopefully it'll be a very exciting race and slightly more normal time for us, isn't it?
I believe it to be. I've got the times up here, actually. Just have a quick gander.
Yeah, it's
race
the same
start,
hemisphere.
Race start is 4 p.m.
That's better. 4 p.m.
p.m.
Got sun all set there.
Well, yeah.
I thought it'd still be early because it's over in East, but it's not that over in East. I thought it'd have been about
it's under the
7
lights.
in the morning. Oh, under lights. Fuck me, yeah. Fuck me.
Just to let you know, there's been a couple of comments on YouTube from Dave the Harp saying if James gets off the livery editor, and Steve F1 saying he would just put Hulkenberg on for the whole intro. Nobody else will get a look in.
Yeah, there'd be like a few people in the background just popping up over his shoulder going, Remember me?
Suck my balls.
Yeah, Kevin Magnussen there.
You know what?
Right.
South Park should redo the chocolate salted bowl songs with Kevin Magnussen singing "Suck my balls." Just suck my balls, suck my balls, just suck my balls.
I thought he used to say, "Suck on my salted chocolate balls."
That's what he did say,
Stick
but
'em in your mouth.
it's Kevin Magnussen this time, isn't it?
Oh, it's a remix.
It's a remix. Yeah.
Ah,
It's a bit like you.
like me.
Time
I'm a
for,
remix.
Time for more humping.
Do. Time for more humping. Right, yeah, cool.
I think on that note, it might be time to call it a night.
I was wondering.
Before we go, we've got to plug Steve's Racing League because there's a new season going to be starting in a couple of weeks, isn't there?
Next week.
There is, and it's going to be available.
Am I wrong? Or is there?
It's on the 28th of March that the season starts. Videos will be on YouTube for everyone to watch a few days after that. It's Red Bull Juniors around Red Bull Ring for the first race on GT Sport PlayStation 4. If you are interested in getting involved with the league, even though all seats are full, if you want to join us for some fun races, find us on Facebook, Dynamic GT League.
You never know.
Send us a
If I drop a pallet on my foot and break a leg, there's a seat going to be available for a bit.
Yeah.
It sounds like he's planned something.
Talking about GT, are you too busy straight after this podcast?
I don't know.
I just wondered if James wanted to do a bit more in a group too.
I will. I'm working on a logo, right?
And a livery?
No, a logo that I'm going to try and send to Dave and see if he can get it up on Gran Turismo so I can download it and stick it on the back of my car.
Which car would that be?
The Red Bull.
The answer's no.
Why? Why?
You don't need to change your livery anymore.
Here's why Formula One teams don't hire James to do their liveries, because on release day it'd be here's the car, and then a day later it'd go, oh, I've changed a bit, it's like this now, and then 2 days later I've changed a bit more, it's a different colour.
It's only getting better though, isn't it? I'm not detracting. If anything, Formula One teams need me to do liveries because Jesus Christ, what the fuck is the Williams?
You'd be like, don't like the look of that sponsor, fuck them off.
James, why don't you tell everybody about the airline company sponsorship that you've just lost?
Yeah, it was going to be Malaysian Airlines because obviously I was going for companies which have got a slightly tarnished reputation, and I've got to say, since the loss of MH370 or whatever it was, Malaysian Airlines have been a bit tarnished. So I had Malaysian Airlines on the back of my car with the tagline, "Lose yourself this summer." However, due to unpopular demand, I've had to remove it. Yeah. She said, that's disrespectful. I said, it's funny. She said, no, it's not. So I'm like, okay. So maybe I've just got a sick sense of humour.
Is that also why the louder than your girlfriend was last night has gone off the rear wing?
It has, yeah. Yeah, she said you can't have that either. So I'm like, oh. Said you might offend somebody, James. I says, that's my favourite thing to do. So...
Yeah, should have changed it to louder than my girlfriend.
She'd have been offended then.
Yeah. At least I'm offending drivers there. Yeah. So now, what I'm trying to do, in that space where Malaysian Airlines was, I'm trying to come up with a logo to make it look like it's a specific team, but then that logo I'm going to take forward into every single car or thing that we do in the future. So I'm trying to do like
a... into it, Dave.
I'm doing a rip on the Braun GP logo, but with... I'm going to make it called Shaw GP. So I don't know why, but I just think it'd look quite cool. But I'm working on the logo right now.
Fair enough. I'm just going to plug myself for a moment here as well.
Go for it.
check out my own YouTube channel if you fancy it, Demon Red Mist on YouTube, where I am currently participating in a self-inflicted Nordschleifer drift challenge, which got a little bit painful for parts 7, 8 and 9, but 10 was quite interesting. So yeah, hopefully I'll be resurrecting that over the next few days as well. It is a bit long-winded and it isn't very easy, but I'm giving it a go anyway.
I tell you what, Steve, I'm not up for getting sweaty in a Group 2 car, but if you're up for a bit of Red Dead for about an hour, I'd be more than happy to do a bit of that.
Depends on whether you keep your guns in your holsters till you need them.
I'll keep my guns in the holsters, and we might even live stream it on Demon R's YouTube, just like what we've plugged.
You're worse than my mum for dropping me into shit I can't say no to.
Plug in. I'm just plugging. Right, there we go. So that's an offer you can't not accept.
I'm not doing it. Fuck you.
All right. Okay.
Well, if anybody wants to join our Red Dead Redemption Wooking Fankers posse, then they'll have to watch Dave on his YouTube stream to find out what his gamer tag is, and then they can
send me a message.
Send a message. Yeah. What was that?
I'm hoping that was Bella and not James.
James, explain.
I was just trying to pick Vicky up, and she told me to get off her, so being politically correct, I did.
Alright. Yeah, you do not have sexual relations with your partner live on podcast, right?
I wasn't. I was just trying to pick her up.
What with?
My hands.
Time to say goodnight, folks. James is about to get beat up. Now that'd be worth streaming, but anyway.
See you on Red Dead.
Have a good one, folks. We'll see you all again soon.
See you in a bit.
Bye.
Blah 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 blah.